And this is already, we're into the second part of this section, and it will be tackling the music part, which is a great segue to actually the best actor in a supporting role category, where we also see Sinners and One Battle After Another going head to toe. I think here in this category, we've seen a big shift, which is the rise of Stellan Skarsgård as the potential winner,
Yeah.
as opposed to, and I remember both of us agreed when we saw One Battle After Another
Sean
that it
Penn.
was Sean Penn locked in.
Yeah.
Um,
I find it so surprising though. Like I just can't still like obviously I mean I've seen all these movies and so have you. Um and there's not a bone in my body. There's nothing in me that hesitates saying that Sean Penn was by far the best performance. In fact, I'm and I know we'll talk about this in depth later. You know, there's one for me. There's one standout performance between men and women. There's one standout performance, but which we'll discuss later. The second best performance for me of the year
of the
in every category
Sean Penn.
between Sean Penn, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I find it surprising when I see Stellan Skarsgård and Jacob Elordi winning awards in different sort of award circuits or awards
Ceremonies, and yeah, look, I'm with you. I think first of all, the queer mission here is Paul Mescal.
Mm.
Back to, I know which performance you're gonna praise. I think the fact that he isn't here and the likes of Delroy Lindo, I think, look, I get it. Why, like, they wanted to push Sinners through and through. They'll nominate it in any single category multiple times if they can. I think, for example, Jacob Elordi, I haven't seen Frankenstein, as I told you. I think there's a push, and there's been a push since that TV show Euphoria, since they thought, or some people started to defend the pop culture impact of Saltburn. There's now a need to push Jacob Elordi. I don't know, was he that good in Frankenstein? That
He was. Honestly, he was. I I sort of like him, but I don't like him that much, so to speak. I liked him, and I thought he was charming in Saltburn. I thought he was good in the Elvis film. I can't remember now the name of it for the life of me.
what, Priscilla?
Priscilla. So I thought he was actually decent. I always every time I look at him, every time I see him, I think, oh, what a nice surprise. And here, I thought it was more than just a surprise. I actually thought, wow, this is a solid performance. Really tough to play. Forget all the makeup, all the
Yeah.
characterization, all that stuff that adds to the role. I don't think he uses it as a crutch. I think ultimately it's actually the guy beneath it that is putting in a really good performance. So I actually disagree or not disagree with you because I don't think you're pushing it. You're asking a question,
Yeah.
and I say I would answer that yes. I think he does really give out a standout performance. I think he's the main reason why Frankenstein for me works because he's magnetic. He pulls you in. I would watch it for him alone. If you take him away from that role, I'm not so sure I'll be as interested.
Fair enough. Look, to me, I'm just looking. We had to have 5 nominees. There are 3 which are untouchable. That's Stellan Skarsgård, which I think drives the whole conflict, and there is the narrative behind him being long overdue. That is open for discussion. I personally don't think there are other cases.
Mhm.
Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro, these are the locks. Now, Paul Mescal, you've already mentioned and you hinted that you would have included him, and I have.
Yeah.
I thought he was a shoo-in. I actually, when I was sort of preparing, which I did zero preparation for this because I didn't have time. When the nominations were announced, I skimmed and cool, okay, Infinity is out and this is in, cool, F1, wow. And I for sure thought that
First I was playing it.
yeah, and I thought for sure Paul Mescal is there, and it
Yeah.
came as a surprise when I was actually reading something. And they're like snubs, and I was like, these people, they don't even pay attention. Paul Mescal was nominated. I was like, oh wait, he wasn't,
Yeah.
which was a shocker for me because again, he's as critical, maybe slightly less, but critical. Let's leave it at that. Like Jesse Buckley is in Hamlet, so his absence here is a big question mark. And to me, it's a question between who would you remove, Delroy Lindo or Jacob Elordi? Maybe it's the bias that I've seen Sinners, and I think his character of Delta Slim is one of, like, one of those like Jack Palance and City Slickers when he won the Oscar. It's kind of like the old man, the vibe, the cautious, the I've seen shit. Like, don't mess with me. So I think I wouldn't.
That's such a good reference.
Yeah, I wouldn't remove him. So that leaves us Jacob Elordi, just because between Paul Mescal and Elordi, that would be my decision.
So I actually go the other way around. I keep Jacob, and I would probably take Delroy as much as I really liked him. Again, I think it's the force of the ensemble rather than anything else. There's a part of me. So I'm going to say something slightly controversial,
Ooh.
but Benicio, I love this character. But sometimes I wonder about those roles that are so small and like that. How much have you done to justify the Oscar nod? And again, and again, I think in some ways, again, this film also puts a lot of the focus on the ensemble. So I, I'm I'm I don't s- I'm not positioning myself for like an actual opinion. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on any of these because I think they all deserve to be there in some shape or form. But I look at Paul. Earlier, we were also discussing whether or not Jesse would be either main
Yes,
actor or
or
supporting actor.
supporting.
And I think whatever that is, whatever category that is, I think he needs to be in that conversation because he was also
Yeah.
very good. A lot of people kept throwing Adam Sandler's name as
Yes.
someone
Yeah. Yeah. No.
to
No. No.
be included in the conversation. You know, I didn't love the film, but I could see value in his
And what he did.
performance. And actually, one of my regrets in terms of that film was thinking that they were underutilized. They were good, but they could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to explore. So there's that, and and that's it. I mean, I'm not going to mention Billy Crudup because it was just the. But again, if even if I was to throw in a Billy Crudup name, which I won't because that would be crazy.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's one of those things where you've been on screen for so little.
Yeah, but man, I think like before we get to the overall ups and downs of this season in this category, I think we always come back to this, and you have the likes of Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love. You have the likes who actually, well, she won, and so did Beatrice Straight in 1977 with Network, where she's great in a monologue, and Ned Beatty was nominated as well just because of a single monologue. Would I rather have Robert Duvall nominated in Network rather than Ned Beatty? Yes. I think these things come with the overall flavor of the movie. And it's interesting when we look at this category where it started, like you and I, Sean Penn, Lockett, done. And then it was Benicio del Toro, and that question came up. And I think, look, I cannot remember a single quote uttered by Sean Penn. Well, I can, but I'm not going to repeat that. But I can swear, but some things I don't do in front of a live camera, that is. But Benicio del Toro, let's have a small couple of years. I think it was great, and the way he just plays off as something against DiCaprio, and uh, just what he represents. And then we suddenly Skarsgård's rising, and we see him as a front runner. I think in either three, I'd be very happy to see either of them win. But I somehow think that I'll stick to my gut and say Sean Penn still through and through because of what he captures. And again, back to my initial point of people who never, and I'm not saying reading, I'm saying trying to read because it's a sure it's not linear, but trying to read Thomas Pynchon and actually seeing that, yeah, pretty much the whole book Vineland is a bunch of Sean Pennish characters,
Mhm.
his whole career was built on writing characters like Steve Lockjaw, the Colonel. So, uh, and it does come across as something you picture when you read those novels, right? So, to me, I think that is a bias, but also something that backs my support. When it comes to the other two, look, if I could, there would be three awards, or the award would be delivered in a three-way with between Del Toro, between Penn, and between Stellan Skarsgård.
Mm.
And even another quote, Tom Cruise, just like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And I think it's that thing, like it's not comparable, but at the same time, Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi nominated for an award. I mean, you remember the quotes, you remember that. So I think in that case, time on screen takes a back seat,
Sure, sure,
and you focus on the impact.
and it's a pivotal, yeah, exactly, because it's a pivotal character, I guess, in the
Exactly,
story.
exactly.
So yeah, yeah, sure,
So I'm not trying to defend. I think here it will be Stellan Skarsgård, and as I meant the winner, as I
yeah.
mentioned, Sean Penn would take it for me. Would be the winner, and the person I put as winner.
I hope it's Sean. But yeah, I wouldn't disagree with your take on it as well.
And speaking of categories where there should have been a nomination, there wasn't. She's Infinity in Best Actress in a Leading Role.
Mm,
Some of them were a surprise. So I haven't seen I haven't seen the Rose Byrne, which and if I had legs, I'd kick you, which I kept hearing raves about it.
yeah.
Kate Hudson was a surprise to me, considering the mixed reactions I got, not from critics, but from people who've actually watched the movie.
Mm,
And considering the amount of great female performances beyond Chase Infinity that we've seen in 2025.
hmm
And it comes to mind immediately Jennifer Lawrence in Die My
hmm
Darling as a clear
Time I love, I
example.
think.
Die My Love, that's correct.
Mhm.
So to me, like, this is a strong category with a front runner that was unchallenged, and that's Jessie Buckley
Yeah,
in Hamnet. And I think this is something you wanted to mention, which I believe it's your favorite performance
yeah.
of the year.
I think she's unmatched in any acting category. I haven't seen anyone better than her this year, and I
Yeah.
think she's delivered something for the ages. There's one interesting clip that you'll see circulating on social media. I think Jane Fonda got invited to present Hamlet to an audience, and so she got a bit of stage time to basically make an introduction, and she goes on to talk about the the performance that she has witnessed from Jesse, and she basically goes on to say, like, I've never seen anything like this. I think she specifically talks about when she's delivering the baby, right, when she's going through labor, and it's actually interesting because I remember a few years ago there was a movie called Pieces of a Woman with Vanessa
Yes, yeah,
Kirby,
for
and
nominated.
and yeah, and I thought she delivered an amazing performance, and a lot of it obviously surrounded similar themes. So becoming well, the process of becoming a mother, right, and then
Yes.
also the grief that comes with it, with the death of a child, and the labor scene I thought was very intense and felt very realistic. I've never been. I mean,
Yes.
I'm about to be,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I've never actually seen with my own eyes. But I thought that was very believable and very impactful in many ways. And then seeing Jesse's performance just took it to a different level. But
Mm.
obviously, I'm not just focusing on that particular bit. I think everything about the performance was great. And you've seen so many uh, peers of Buckley go on camera and talk about what she brought to the screen. I can think of something recent now, like Bradley Cooper on Joe Rogan's podcast, saying like, I really believed it, and when you believe something like this,
Yeah.
you just know it's like incredible. And all of this praise that I've been hearing really resonates with me because I wouldn't change a single word. I do think that she is by far. I mean, no one comes close.
No.
I don't think there's. We can discuss all these different contenders, but
No,
she,
no, no, no. I absolutely. And she was my pick. Again, no spoiler. I think she's my pick, and I think she will win as well. So no arguing there. And I mean, we've praised Hamlet. I told you, even though I found the first two acts, 2/3 of the movie boring, the performances and that third act make up for it. And therefore, it's a movie that even my parents were asking, "Oh, your thoughts?" And I was like, "Oh, you should read my review, as should you all." No, which I share with them, but because I didn't do one of those videos,
Mm,
they're not on Letterboxd.
yeah.
But yeah, so I agree with you completely, and I think this is one of the few times Jane Fonda and I also agree with each other, which is it's a long-standing
Poor
battle
Jane.
between me and Jane Fonda. Um, Looking at the other nominees, look, we already covered Chase Infinity. I think Jennifer Lawrence, I already mentioned, I thought she delivered a great performance, and I think you've watched the movie, no?
Mhm.
Or you, yeah,
I
and you
did.
also enjoyed her performance.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought the movie was, but I
yeah,
thought she was
she
great.
elevates. And the other name is Amanda Seyfried in The
I was gonna
Testament
say, yeah,
of Anne Lee.
yeah.
She made,
That movie completely went under the radar. No one talked about it.
yeah, because
Reviews were good. People were saying that Amanda was great, but how did it just?
it's not a movie you can easily sell, and it's also like, who the hell is Mona Fastvel? For some people, we know her as the collaborator and wife of Brady Corbett, last year's nominee, and the two of them.
And don't you think that would be enough to draw in some people? Because after the success that Brutalist found,
Yeah, it should, but the Brutalist is a movie that a lot of people complain for being too long. This is not a long movie. I think The Testament of Anne Lee, the subject is a bit challenging to tackle, and a lot of people just won't give the time of day to see something about religion, and I think that hurts a lot. And it's not a very dynamic movie, right? Talking about Hamlet and talking about this one, they are not. I don't think they are quite static. The difference is one of them has a stellar performance, the other one has a very good performance by Amanda Seyfried, but The Testament of Anne Lee doesn't deliver a payoff. Like there's no like there's no emotion. There is if you probably it will hit you after, right? Like when you drink, it doesn't hit you immediately. Whereas Hamnet, it's immediate. So I kind of understand. I think like if we look at the other names here, like Renata Reinsve, again, we already established how critical she is to the development of the whole plot and narrative, in how she plays against Inge, how she plays against Stellan, how she plays against El, and she was already great in
the worst person in the world.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I definitely see her here. Kate Hudson. I mean, you've seen Song Blue, no?
No, so that's one of the few. That's one of two films I think from all these that we're discussing that I've not seen. And I have nothing to add other than there was nothing about this film that made me want to go
Right.
watch it.
And Kate Hudson was a bit of a shocker here because everybody thought, well, this slot would be taken by Chase Infinity in any other world,
Yeah.
right? So it was a bit of a question mark, which it's interesting because you always see first timers, first time female leads in Paul Thomas Anderson movies getting snubbed. And you can argue against it, but Alana Haim, Licorice Pizza,
Yeah.
nominated. I even think she got the Golden Globe and the BAFTA, much like Chase Infinity, and not
Really?
nominated. It's the only category where Paul Thomas Anderson never scored an acting nomination for one of his
Interesting.
actors. And I don't know. I don't know what's happening here, but suddenly Kate Hudson, I mean, I wouldn't even say Nepo baby, even though she is, but I'm very confused to see her like in this list, especially when the movie was so like
Yeah.
the reception was tepid at best. And now we got this, which to me is a bit confusing.
I just, yeah, but just going back to what you were saying, I just think the main thing for me that drives home, I guess, is the fact that she had really difficult, or rather, she had really strong competition going into this
the casting?
category. And yeah, Chase.
Okay. Sorry. I thought you were talking about Kate Hudson. And I was
No, no.
like,
So
yeah,
no. So
yeah,
so
yeah.
Kate for me, I don't think she, she was good. Let me start from the top. So the thing for me is that looking into this category, I just don't think Kate deserved to have
That's a spot.
a spot when you comparing it to other names. Again, Chase is definitely
Yeah.
one. She was such an amazing surprise, I think, for all of us, really, who had
Yes.
never heard of her up until
Well,
this
it
movie
was her
came out.
first movie,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
I'm
So
sure she has done other things, but not full feature. I'm with you, right? And I don't know. I don't know. It's very confusing why she's here, but good for her. I mean, she's fun, and she proved to be great in her previous nominated award and previously nominated performance in Almost Famous. Um, but looking at the other two names here, and especially Rose Byrne, I mean, I'm keen to hear your thought on this because this is something I mean, the subject matter sounds way too depressing, and I'm not never want to shy away from the topic, but I just couldn't bring myself to see this one. Just like I haven't been able to bring myself to see The Father. Uh, There are some things I just won't do it. And I think If I Have Legs, I'd Kick You. It was one of those movies that, no, I'm not going to hate this by default. But I'm not going to watch this.
I mean, it's a tough watch. It's frantic. It's neurotic. It's fast paced, in your face. Really feels like they're coming into your space.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. There's a lot of close-ups. There's a lot of high tension, a lot of emotion. She's absolutely incredible in it, and that was a lovely surprise because she's mainly known for doing comedies and sometimes very silly ones at that. And so to then see this sort of acting chops deliver this kind of role was really good. Also, one thing it would be interesting to mention is Conan O'Brien's role as the psychiatrist.
Yes.
He's absolutely amazing. He's so well cast in that role and just really delivers a strong performance. But yeah, it's her show, and she really deserves to be in the run for best leading actress.
I mean, from what I've read about it, for sure. I mentioned about my reservations, and I think I'll reserve my right not to see certain movies just because of certain topics. I already had suffered through the physical discomfort of having to sit through The Fault in Our Stars, a movie that made me physically ill. I'm not joking. The topic and everything, I got like...
Yeah, but I mean,
no.
we're talking about different things.
We are, but the same thing. That movie bothers me. So
sure.
I'm not criticizing bothering in a joke.
And maybe you can cut this off if you don't feel comfortable. But what is it about? Why is it so bothering? What does it bother you so much about this?
What is the movie about?
Why is that?
Man, there are some things you cannot like. So why do a movie with people with cancer bother me?
Maybe we don't know.
And then we have Emma Stone in Begonia, right? Which, I mean,
we don't need to waste much time.
No, I mean, I like her as an actress. I just think just because did she shave her head?
She did.
She did?
Yeah, she did.
So that gives you...
I mean, I love her. I think she's incredible. I love seeing her do pretty much everything.
Yes.
So
no, I think she's a great actress. I do love her even on Crazy Stupid Love and all those things.
Yeah, she's always good.
She's always good. This one I will skip. She wasn't good in Poor Things, and I had that issue, and we talked about that. No, I think Poor Things is a bad movie made in poor taste.
Let's move on.
We'll move on. Anyways, before we get to Best Directing, we get to a category where I have a big issue with, and that's Best International Feature. Look, all the nominees here, fine. I haven't seen The Voice of the Hind Rajab and Sirat. I'm surprised to see Sirat here because of the mixed reception it had, because it wasn't all praise like people think. There was a lot of backlash against this. And now I have my issue with the Academy, which is, why do they hate Park Chan-wook? Decision to Leave, not nominated. No Other Choice, 0 nominations. Why? And this is a movie, and I know you haven't seen it, but I'll fight for it. It's a remake of a Western material. I don't care. I thought the movie was great. It was the only comedy in 2025, and it's a dark comedy at that made me laugh. And there's very little...
No Naked Gun? You didn't like Naked Gun?
Yeah, that made me smirk at best.
There's some good moments in there. I mean, I didn't love it, but there were some good moments in there.
I think that...
Also, there's like friendship. What about friendship?
Yeah, no, that's the kind of cringe humor. Yeah, but I didn't laugh at anything there.
Oh, I did.
The only thing... This was a movie that made me laugh, and it's a movie that made me feel uncomfortable. It's a movie that made me feel a lot of things. And now makes me feel angry that it's not featured and not even nominated and in a single category.
Yeah.
And they made room for crap like F1. Yes, there we go. But Best International Feature, there was certainly room, especially over Sirat, to include this one here.
I've not seen it, so I don't know. I've not seen Sirat and
No Other Choice.
I will say that for a very long time, all I've been hearing about is how No Other Choice is incredible.
Yes.
How it was going to be the target to beat.
Yes.
It was going to be included in all the lists. At one point,
it was my second favorite film of the year.
To you
after
and to a lot of people as well. I mean, I've been seeing it on the top list for lots of people. The scores, at one point, it was being marketed as like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and
that second went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some douchebag probably had thought to himself, you know what? Let me just ruin this for them.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
always one.
even though
Sometimes it's me.
even though I really love this film, yeah,
No,
exactly,
it shall,
exactly,
thou shalt not
exactly.
win. Boom.
He was a good friend of yours, probably.
Yeah,
Um,
I know the guy.
but
Uh,
but yeah, I mean, I feel that if I had seen the movie, I would share your frustration. I haven't. I hopefully will watch it tonight or tomorrow. So by the time that this airs,
you'll have an opinion.
I'll have an opinion on it.
Good.
But
Maybe you can comment on this to get
I,
the
I
engagement up.
I will. Of course.
Look, but looking at this list, and I haven't seen two of them. Look, we already covered it was just an accident. It's terrific. I think it's a crime that Jafar Panahi isn't nominated for Best Director, which we'll get to that in a minute. And this movie should have been nominated for Best Picture. The Secret Agent, again, what's not to like? I understand a lot of people thought the movie was slow. I thought some people have some issues with the movie. I think this is, and even some people compared it to I'm Still Here, released last year. I think it's apples and oranges. I think they complement each other, and it's deserving to be here.
I loved your review on this. I read your review.
I saw that.
As soon as I saw,
oh yeah,
and I thought everything was on point. One thing I would add to this film in comparison as well to
I'm Still Here.
I'm Still Here. I think this film also takes some really bold decisions in the way it creates some space for some moments. This people who've seen it will know what I'm talking about when I say like the leg sequence, for instance. I thought it was really interesting. And yes, I mean, I do. I will also share the same opinion that there were parts of it that were slow. I think the first hour in particular was a bit slow, but I still enjoyed it. I think it was slow. It needed to be slow to then pick up the pace and make it a lot more interesting. And obviously, you saw a lot happening at once. So I don't see that necessarily as a
bad thing.
A bad thing. Exactly.
No, I saw it in that context as the same thing with Sentimental Value, which is a movie that takes its time and relies on the 3 years brand of dry Scandinavian humor. Terrific. Loved watching these movies. And then there was no other choice. Well, there was apparently for the Academy because they nominated 2 other movies. And I'm very keen to hear your thoughts on the voice of Hind Rajab.
I mean, I think I come into this with a different lens because a lot of my day to day has been focused on covering
the events in Palestine,
war, and it's a really difficult subject. I think for any of us, but I think especially people who live with this. No, not especially. Let me rephrase that. It's a difficult subject to tackle. I think it adds on to the pile of people who obviously cover it remotely. I mean, if we go through some difficulties looking at this, imagine those who've actually been on the ground, people who face this day to day.
Yes,
it is horrific because ultimately this is not fiction. This film could well be a documentary. In some ways, it's actually shot, and the story is told almost like a documentary as well because they use a lot of archive as well.
Yeah,
and so it gives that different angle to your average movie because it mixes both of those different styles and storytelling.
And there is relevance to your point, right? I know what the movie is about, and I know that there's that relevant side to, or not relevance. Sorry, what I meant is it's very up to date considering the things we've been seeing. It's not. I'm not. Relevance was a poor choice of words, and that's not what I meant to say. But you know what I mean. It's like it's something that's present, and therefore something you tackle immediately. So no issues there. But when you look at the rest of the list, I think Sirat, and I haven't seen it, but it was just like a lot of people were very underwhelmed with this title. And I just don't see how you have something so relevant. And this will be, an issue in the future when this, how come was this not nominated? Like when you see the impact and the forthcoming that comes from no other choice, I just don't understand.
I mean, against Sirat, sure. I haven't seen it, but I haven't, again, because I haven't seen No Other Choice in Sirat, it's hard for me to cast an opinion, so I'll have to take your word for it. And I feel like I will agree with you, right?
Yeah.
And the few occasions that we do agree, I think definitely I
those magic moments.
But the voice of Hind Rajab, I thought it was a must see. It was a really tough watch.
Yeah,
but it's thought provoking. I think there's a level of urgency because again, it confronts you with something that's happening next door in some ways, and it's horrific. Um, even knowing the outcome, even being prepared for the outcome, it still doesn't give you that sort of like layer of protection from, avoiding all these different emotions, because you'll feel sad, you'll feel very angry, very frustrated.
Yeah.
Um, in some ways, almost there's that weird sense of guilt of, how is it that how is it that I live this cushy life, and other people on the other side of the world are going through all of these things, and it's very inhumane. Um, so anyway, I thought it was a really powerful film told in a fresh way. The acting was also really good. I can't remember the name of the lead actress, the one that is giving support over the phone. I thought she was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible, and I would definitely recommend to anyone watching it. I actually think this category, and I think we've seen this a lot in recent years. The international feature film has been really strong over the years, either with the ones that have been nominated or the ones that have been left out. There's been plenty of snubs, good snubs.
You're absolutely right. I think it has to do with the diversity. It's one case where actually that worked in their favor, not like the BAFTAs where it was shoehorned. I think the diversity of the membership of the Academy has resulted in this, as you started to see since 2018, at least one non-American name in the Best Director category. You've seen the likes of Ostlund, Faget, Trier, all in since the last few years. Pawlikowski, Bong Joon-ho, so Bong Joon-ho, sorry, and I think when it comes to this category, there's still an issue, and that's who decides to nominate what. Because when Parasite won Best International Feature, Bong Joon-ho accepted the Oscar, but he didn't keep it because the decision to submit a certain movie is made by the Ministry of Culture or any equivalent. I'm talking about the equivalent in Portugal of each country. There was a big controversy because only after there was a backlash, international backlash against the Brazilian committee not wanting to nominate a secret agent. I'm pretty sure you read about that.
I
So,
didn't actually.
well, yeah, it wasn't going to be the selection. So you have a number of people, and yes, don't get me wrong, no other choice was South Korea's submission. But there have been many instances in the past where you have the intelligentsia probably influenced by less than noble forces that decide to pick a movie. So to me, it's great that it's growing in relevance. It's not perfect in the way the mechanisms that promote a certain movie to be selected internally at a country level. I'm not saying to get to the final round. So, but I agree with you, and we've increased our discussion. Luckily, we started this in 2018, so we don't have a track record. But I've seen more and more myself personally tracking this, and certainly that helps also what we've seen with the Cannes Film Festival and Venice as well, where we try to keep, or at least it's very exciting because that dictates stuff to keep an eye out. And we're both fortunate to live in London, where we get to go to the London Film Festival and certainly see some of these titles before they get massive launches, always a bit ahead of the audiences. That said, I still think there is a low conversion from Best International Feature into to Best Picture, right?
Yeah.
And that's what.
And easily this would be this would be one of the years that you could
200%.
put some more in the forefront.
Like, we tackle Best Directing first, I think, because we covered how Jafar Panahi, like we already mentioned, how great. I mean, if there's one thing where probably the making of a movie and the personality of the director outshines the movie itself, and the movie is great, as we already established, it's Jafar Panahi, and it was just an accident, right? So not to see him in this list was a bit of a shocker. But at the same time, I don't see. Look, yes, Josh Safdie, I would remove him as I would remove anything to do with Marty Supreme, other than Best Original Screenplay. I would keep that. And I would actually, well, Jafar Panahi would be the
What about
replacement.
Odessa? Did you like Odessa? Yeah. Because we actually didn't really. Her name got thrown around, but
yeah, her name got thrown around. But much like Gwyneth Paltrow and Kevin O'Leary, I think everybody, like, the only thing that movie did great in terms of acting and revelation was to bring that asshole Abel Ferrara, who is an asshole. I have friends who tried to interview him, and they're like, Pedro, he's like the worst. Think about the worst person you've ever had to interview, multiplied by 10, you have something close to Abel Ferrara, who is the guy, the mafioso, who gets
I know.
Yeah, so it was like...
He's a director.
He's a movie director. He made some terrific movies, and he even directed for Michael Mann the pilot episode of the underrated Crime Story TV series. From it's terrific. He's a great movie director, awful person. So that movie, like, if there's one thing that came out positively out of that movie, was to actually be able to see a bit of a good side on Abel Ferrara.
Okay.
But look, her performance, I think she reminded me too much of maybe from Arrested Development. She did. It's fine, but like,
I mean, maybe you're talking about how she looks rather than the acting.
But also the acting was like, it did nothing for me. And I think, look, that movie is about a guy who uses women, and then in real life, women praise about...
He uses people.
He uses women, most people.
He uses people. Look at the guy he's using right at the top of the film.
Kevin O'Leary?
No, the guy who did the ping pong.
Ah, yeah, but he was mentally challenged, so he was. They're all very proud that the guy could write. So he made a ping pong ball, and it's like good stuff. I think also the movie was hurt by not having the Tommy Wiseau touch, which was the original finale.
Okay, let's move on. We're getting,
but you know that he was supposed to be a vampire, right?
No, I did not.
You read about it.
Okay.
And Kevin O'Leary was actually upset that they didn't use the final version where they all turned to be vampires.
Okay.
So read about it. I'm not BSing you.
Okay.
I would remove Josh Safdie. Would I replace him with his brother, who delivered stellar work, but most importantly with Jafar Panahi? Yeah. Here, look, Chloe Zhao, it's difficult to argue that she didn't make the movie. However, I would say that Park Chan-wook deserved to be on this list. Joachim Trier, I think he's great, and so were Ryan Coogler. I still think Paul Thomas Anderson is a guy who's been nominated. He's now accumulated 14 nominations, 0 wins, and he was snubbed 3 times directing: Magnolia, Boogie Nights, The Master, and Best Original Screenplay for The Master.
I find that crazy.
Yeah. So the guy is like, it's his year. I think he needs to win this so we can all move along and do something else. I think, look, this is a very strong category. That said, I recognize what Josh Safdie did for people like you who enjoyed the movie.
I would never put him as a contender to actually win it. I'm happy that he's on the list.
I think Jafar Panahi should be here.
No, I mean, but it's difficult. I think it's all these names are worthy on their own of being here. So I would have a hard time actually creating space for someone else. But again, if we were to replace Josh, for instance, with
Jafar Panahi,
I think that would be absolutely fine.
But Paul Thomas Anderson will win.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to, yet again, the battle of
Ryan
Titans.
versus
Paul.
It's interesting because both have strong narratives, and Ryan Coogler certainly, like, if he wins Best Original Screenplay, will be a consolation prize. But at the same time, I don't want him winning just to satisfy a quota. I'd rather see Paul Thomas Anderson get what he's been cultivating for across 10 movies for over 30 years, and the man is great. And
I sort of agree with you. I mean, I do think I would always go for I would go for P.T. Anderson, but if Ryan were to win it, I would not be upset at all. I would feel like, okay, fair enough. It reminds me a little bit of how I felt when Leo DiCaprio was going up against Matthew McConaughey. Wolf of Wall Street versus
Dallas Buyers Club.
I just thought any of them really touched on everything that I wanted, and so whoever wins it will leave me very satisfied. So I feel the same way in this category as well.
Yeah, although
even if I'm edging a bit more towards one.
Look, I'm PTA all the way. I think, again, the man has paid his dues.
I think you're more PTSD. Really.
Sorry?
I think you're more PTSD.
I am. Else. But in this case, I have PTSD for PTA.
Yeah.
I think, look, it's pretty much, look, maybe it will give Tarantino perspective about making his 10th movie if PTA wins. With his 10th feature, maybe we'll get Tarantino, and then
maybe Tarantino will cast Paul Dano.
And what were the other two? Matthew Lillard and the other guy, Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Imagine a movie, Three Brothers. That's the title, Three Brothers. Quentin Tarantino's Three Brothers. Maybe that's the whole thing. Imagine if he ends up casting Paul Dano. That would be great.
It was a ploy just to get some conversation around.
And then the two of them hug each other like, "Eh." Well, and PTA also, we had the conversation 2 years ago when he helped this rewriting Killers of the Flower Moon, and that killed that nomination. So I think, yeah, after that, there's a whole narrative. Well, even without that, there was a whole narrative behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to the final five, I mean, if you remove Train Dreams and probably add Hamnet, if you went back to 5 movies, that's probably how it would look like, Sinner, Sentimental Value, Secret Agent, one battle after another. We talked about,
What a string of films. Even just hearing you say the names out loud,
yeah,
so wow, really good.
and it's very interesting that most of this, I mean, not Sinners, but it's very odd to see a movie that was released almost a year ago, because everything else, it's like the fourth quarter of the year, right? So that's when the big ones come out, the things you've been hearing since
Yeah,
Q2 after Cannes and everything. This was a movie that I remember when this was like Get Out to me, because yes, I have certain biases, and there's some things I know I'm not going to like, and some things I know I'm going to like and may disappoint me. And then there are those other movies, a third category, where it's like I have no opinion, no pre-existing nothing. And that was the case with Sinners, much like Get Out. I didn't read the review. I remember seeing it spike over at the box office. I didn't actively make plans to see this. Whereas with One Battle After Another, I remember, okay, this is going to premiere that weekend. Okay, must be in a place where I can see the movie when it comes out. I remember perfectly. I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to see it this weekend. And I went to see Sinners. Probably it was the second weekend it was released. And zero expectations, didn't read any of the reviews, but it was just like I had an idea about the plot. And it was a surprise to see a movie that was, because usually it's the later ones that have
yeah,
some
plus the
steam
impact.
to stay. So to me, it was a surprise. And this is something around the movies that made 2025 a good year. Like you have a handful of them right here, as I mentioned them. And I think One Battle After Another, I remember the expectation and everything that surrounded this movie. And much like some of I think no other comes close. I think Sentimental Value, I also had very, very high hopes and a very big expectation to see this movie. You know very well,
Yeah.
because I asked you to get the preview tickets. The Secret Agent, same thing. I was very, very glad when I managed to score the ticket at the London Film Festival. Same thing with No Other Choice. Very happy. But the hype for One Battle After Another and the scene with the hills and everything. And to me, I was talking to a friend of mine who was very ambivalent towards the movie. He said good things about it. I said, well, the hills, when it started, I was like, I'm sold. This is it. And I still,
It's so interesting. Like a lot of the people that I've spoken to who didn't like the film, when
yeah,
they go about making a list of the things that they did kind of enjoy, the hill scene is always the first thing that comes up.
because it's terrific. And I still don't understand how that movie cost 150 million to make, even with the 20 million check they had to write to Mr.
Yeah.
DiCaprio.
Mm.
But that said, I still think the movie was like, my parents went to see it, and I can assure you that was probably the first time they went to see a PTA movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're not that they're not fans, but like I don't think there's nothing else to really recommend them to. Like, I know their taste, right? And
But wouldn't you say? I mean, I'm just thinking right away.
Licorice Pizza.
No, well, like Christmas, I think it's an easier film to watch
Yeah,
and fun and light. But I'm just thinking, something like There Will Be Blood. You immediately say this is an opportunity for you to see Daniel Day Lewis because he's such a
yeah.
great.
I remember that year I actually went with them to see No Country for Old Men. So, and they loved the movie. There Will Be Blood. I don't know how to position to them. Now we're talking about very, not particularly, like my dad is quite open to different kinds of movies. Actually seen Age of Disclosure, like the one about the aliens, the documentary.
Mhm.
And I say, yeah, you should take a look. And we both enjoy watching Torrente. So there is everything in between. So there is a bit of openness there. I think to recommend them something, probably The Master, but that's a difficult one to ingest, or Phantom Thread.
Mhm.
But that would be difficult because I'm not the biggest fan of that. I enjoy it, mind you, but it's not top tier PTA for me.
Mm.
Uh, and with that in mind, I mean, I think we both agree that it's No Other Choice. It's one battle after another.
Your mind.
And my mind, no. I wanted to see if I could squeeze that by, as a write-in nominee. There is a story about someone who was nominated for an Oscar in the 30s or something as a write-in nominee. So I'm like, why don't we bring that up?
Imagine you being one of the people reading out the winners at the ceremony. You would not read what's on that paper because instantly your mind would just go to whatever you wanted to win.
Well, that's how Marissa Tomei won her Oscar. According to some people, Jack Palance wasn't all there. So they said that she didn't win the Oscar. But anyways, that's speculation.
My Cousin Vinny.
Yes, which is a great movie.
Yeah, I love it.
Anyways, what to look forward to in 2026?
Oof, I did not come prepared for this.
You never do.
Actually don't. It's always actually I do have one or two films that came into my mind right now.
Toy Story 5 and
No, Toy Story 5 is actually one of them. The Digger.
yes, and that's great because money down here now. Tom Cruise will follow the steps of Mr. Henry Fonda and Paul Newman and win an Academy Award in Best Lead Actor 2027, like they did a year after receiving the honorary Oscar. And I'll put money down.
Okay, well, I hope so. I'm a big Tom Cruise fan, as you know.
Yes,
So
and I think he'll
he's a
finally
wonderful actor.
get his due, and that
Well,
terrific.
and also, let's have this in mind as well. I mean, it's about time that he's actually decided to put in the time and effort to actually.
We haven't seen the movie, Eduardo. Let's not get the hopes up.
But you know what I mean. It's true. That's
Yes.
true. But it's nice that he's not attached to one of these big production action films.
It's the director here, right? It's Inarritu and the brief description that we have about the movie that makes us believe that it's something completely different than what we've seen in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, true.
In general.
So the Digger for sure. Toy Story. Obviously, I have a sweet spot for comic movies and the Avengers coming back again with some of the OG cast. Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom now, and X-Men being brought in from the Sony universe into the Marvel Studios universe. All those things I'm really into.
Hombre X.
as you know, so I'm all down with that. I feel like there's obviously one big standout as well that everyone's going crazy about, which is the Odyssey. So that's
I think that movie will force people to actually realize that this is the worst, or that Christopher Nolan. I'm not excited. I'm not excited. I love Christopher Nolan. You know that my disappointment with him didn't start with Tenet. It started with Interstellar. So I actually like Tenet. I think I don't have high expectations for the movie. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
That's because that movie should have been directed by Steven Spielberg, so we get the little emotional thingy. But I don't know, man.
You already go in with such a bias.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna see the movie the first day it's out, but I'm gonna, not really. I don't have the hype.
Well, in that case, you tell me, Pedro. Which ones are for you?
I'm glad you asked. That's why I'm trying to log on to Letterboxd whilst you're talking to see what I had put in for the. Look, I don't know if we're gonna get the new Robin Ostlund movie. The entertainment system is down. That's the title of the movie with Keanu Reeves, and the man actually bought a plane. And I'm a big Ruben Ostlund fan. Even before Triangle of Sadness, I thought Force Majeure was great as well. And what was it? The box, the square,
the square,
the Palme d'Or winner. I thought I think the guy has a unique take. I think I don't think. Hamaguchi has a new movie coming out.
Tamagotchi.
No, Hamaguchi, who made Drive My Car.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a new movie coming out. I think the whole issue, there are some good ones, like Brady Corbett has a new movie coming out. The big thing is you never know if there are going to be delays, like Terrence Malick, who's been editing his last movie for the last 7 years. It's like, they can. Like Ruben Ostlund isn't even sure he's going to debut his movie because he wants to get 3 Palme d'Or. So obviously he wants to aim it for Cannes, but TBD, right? So it's very difficult to predict what will get me excited. But I think The Digger, Toy Story 5, just because I want to see how far they can stretch it until it breaks. And Toy Story 4 was already a bit of a stretch. Let's see. And yeah, some of the blockbusters that, including Project Hail Mary, with I know you just told me that you're not keen to see it. I'm interested to see if they can actually bring or make something that can surpass The Martian, or at least be different. But
Did you like The Martian?
I did.
Okay.
I did, very much so, against the backlash that I received from a lot of people. I think, look, The Odyssey, back to that. It's not that I want Christopher Nolan to fail. I don't think. Yeah, let's see if he can pull it off. I don't think it's the kind of material, especially because it breaks the pattern he gotten us used to for 10 years, which is sci-fi movie, historical pick, right? Interstellar, sci-fi. Dunkirk, historical. Tenet, 2020, sci-fi. Oppenheimer, historical. You need to follow up, right? You need to do sci-fi. You can't, like, for the autistic members of that are Nolanites, they want this reassurance, and
Sure.
Nolan deprive them from getting it. But I'm not excited about the Odyssey. I wish I could be, but I have a thing with these historical epics that, look, I'm not a fan of Gladiator. I will watch Spartacus, and I will watch the old ones, but I don't care about it. Maybe because I watched Alexander and Kingdom Heaven and Troy and all that crap, and I'm done. Like, I cannot stand those movies. And the same thing with the Odyssey, just because of the context. However, I'm still rooting for Tom Cruise. I am really looking forward to see what other surprises we have in store. And that's it. So that was another episode. I'm glad these things only happen once a year. Otherwise, they're a nightmare to edit. But as you can tell. But Duarte, it's been great. And I hope that even with the addition to your family, that you still have time to watch a lot of titles in 2026. And that next year we're here reviewing the year with the help of
A few small beers.